Yes. Illness and injury. Josh Earl, how is he today?
Yeah, okay. Back in the building today. So we're hoping that he can train and get through the next couple of days, and then kind of be in and around the squad for the weekend. So obviously positive that he's back in today. Obviously today was probably a little bit of a, if he's not in today, will he not make the weekend or whatever? But he's back in the building. I've just seen him. So that's a positive.
Is everybody else okay post Lincoln?
Yeah, pretty much. Robbo is still okay. Didn't quite make Tuesday. Again, he'll be on the grass today and see if he can get through the session. Has not come on. Has it helped not coming on Tuesday? Been a good factor for him in terms of didn't do anything Tuesday, didn't do anything Wednesday, and can he have a positive day today on the grass? If he does, then obviously he'll be banging the mix for the weekend as well.
You've had a bit of time to digest that mad 12 seconds. Is it just one of football's unfathomables, or are there other reasons?
Yeah, I've been mulling over it a lot. Disappointing thing, obviously. We worked so hard to get back in the game. I thought we played some really good stuff at times. Really started the second half in a real positive way. Particularly with the substitution as well, giving us width both sides, which really, really helped. Look, it's a really disappointing moment for sure. I really feel like the second goal caused the third goal. That it was kind of, players were probably a little bit all over by it. They were so surprised by it. They didn't grab hold of the situation for the next 3 or 4 minutes, and ended up conceding another, and then the game's completely gone away from you. So really disappointing moment. Big learning curve. I feel like if we defend and kind of settle the game down over the next minute or two, we go on to dominate and have a real strong last 25 minutes. But it's a big learning curve for the team. I think, people will point at maybe certain individuals, but my gripe is more to the group, knowing how to handle that situation, being nice and calm, realising that, we've done so well to get back in the game the way we've been playing. Let's keep playing that way rather than doing something drastic like what we did. And everyone needs to be calm in that moment and realise that we're really on top. And it ultimately then, the kind of the moment of madness ends up costing you the game.
There's a lot of what we talk about sometimes, because sometimes you sit on these press calls and the performance the game before has been unreal, and then the next week there are issues. So that then just boils down to consistency, doesn't it? And being in the right headspace at the right time.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, look, I want to be more consistent than anyone. And I think, my message to the players over the next couple of league games was, can we make that jump and become more consistent? And ultimately on Tuesday night, we just weren't quite there yet to take the step. Now we'll be looking to take the step on Saturday and then moving forward into a more consistent basis. But I think we need to realise that, we've got, such an exciting group of players. But, Reyes, for example, Reyes Cleary is a baby, he's learning his trade. Patrick Kelly's a baby, he's learning his trade. Blandy's a baby, he's learning his trade. Vermaal's learning his trade. These guys are so exciting. Even Jack Shepherd, came into the professional game at, really at 22, only a couple of years ago, So there's so many players in our team that are really exciting. But for us to demand week in, week out top performances from the 4 or 5 that I've just mentioned is unrealistic right now. So there will be times where we're hurting and we have to accept and we have to analyse and get better and become more consistent. But knowing that, these players, we're asking so much of them so early on in their careers, that there is going to be bumps on the roads, unfortunately. And it's that's we're going to win games playing unbelievably well, and they're going to be so satisfying with Reyes and Pass and Vim and Blandy, and Fabio is going to come into the equation now as well. And there is going to be elements of the game where we look really frustrating and inconsistent, and that's just the process that we're in.
Yeah, and explain to us a little bit about that process, because young players do develop into not so young players and so on. So what did you go through, and all your colleagues, what will they go through to get them to where they end up?
Yeah, it's games, it's development. Unfortunately, it's mistakes. And it's winning games and really enjoying them wins and noticing what you do in the build up to that game or in the game to play really, really well. To ask the names I've just mentioned to be playing Saturday, Tuesday constantly, there's going to be a dip in form. That's just natural. But I think when we're exciting and when we're good, we're good. And hopefully over the course of the season, when there's more games racked up and there's more periods of good and bad, we'll click at a really good time and become more consistent as the season goes on.
I realise at this time of the year, some questions will seem almost jackknife towards January. But given those issues, if you like, and the lads developing their careers, is a bit of experience maybe on the mind recruitment wise this next window?
Yeah, potentially. I'm not saying that's a clear yes or a clear no. I think for there will be some, that kind of there is chopping and changing, of course, in every squad. We just mentioned Sheffield United there off air. They're going to be chopping and changing, and just like everyone that you speak to now, ultimately the question is, what will you do in January? Speaking to Lincoln staff after the game, what will you do in January? It's cropping up and it's creeping up to that time. So, look, there will be a couple of ins and outs, just like any squad. What the age profile will be, time will tell. We're obviously in a process where we're signing a couple of younger players to develop them and help them and become assets for the football club. That doesn't mean to say that we won't get an experienced player as well. But will we bulk up the squad to make us a little bit stronger? Hopefully that will be the case.
Leyton Orient then, the next challenge. What's your assessment of them currently?
Yeah, I think they're in the same process of us. They've got some really, really good players, a little bit inconsistent, really good side when it clicks. Obviously their game on Tuesday night against Luton played a little bit different because of the personnel they had out with their team and out with their squad. And I expect probably a little bit similar to that on Saturday. The names that would be really exciting for them. I don't expect them to be back. So I think we can expect maybe a similar game to what we will be analysing off the back of Luton. But it's one that we need to be fully ready for, and hopefully come out on the right side of it.
So thank you very much.
Okay, cheers. Thank you.
Obviously you mentioned Earl Gent's sort of on his way back as well, and Ogbeta as well. You've not had much luck with left backs really recently, have you? Is it just one of those things you just have to ride it out?
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll be back soon.
Exactly that. Yeah. Look, I think at the minute it's a position that we're probably struggling with. Obviously Tenai Watson had to play there on Tuesday night. One that can play in many positions, Tenai, in terms of like right back. He covered at centre back for half an hour against Peterborough. Obviously that's a position that is not ideal for him to play there, but he did it really, really well. Obviously he did left back against Lincoln. Obviously we had Mal there against Stockport. So it's a position that we're kind of filling at the minute. Nate is going to be probably another couple of weeks. Josh is obviously back on the grass. Will that help us? Obviously, going into Saturday, hopefully that will be the case. And Georgie obviously is obviously coming back from a long injury. Yes, had a Peterborough really strong performance, but isn't ready for Saturday, Tuesdays and whatnot. So, it's one that we're filling at the minute for sure.
Could Gent and Jello potentially be in the mix for this weekend, or is it a bit early for one or two of them?
Fabio could be involved. I think Fabio is someone that I'm really keen to get back involved in the squad without pushing him too much, because obviously he's had a real long setback. Georgie is feeling some fatigue off the back of the week that he had last week. He's been out for a very long time, played a 21s game, then played a real energetic 90 minutes. So he's struggling from a little bit fatigue in his body off the back of that performance. So we won't see Georgie this week. We're hoping that Georgie will be more back on the grass after this weekend. But Fabio is someone that will be back on the grass now again after playing a 21s game on Tuesday. And if he looks strong and ready, that there's a potential for him to be on the bench.
Obviously, we touched on it Tuesday night, but you'll be missing Luke for suspension. Obviously, a big miss, your captain and a really important player, but I guess a chance for someone else to step up.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Luke has been top for us. Just one of them things that 5 yellows and he's in the thick of it all the time, and the amount of games that he plays in the middle of the pitch, he's always going to pick up yellows. So obviously we had Blandy out for the Stockport game for yellows. Luke is going to be missing obviously Saturday, so it's just one of them things that every team will have. You've
been playing Adam Phillips in that sort of a bit deeper role in sort of traditional centre mid, I guess. Previously more attacking. Is that somewhere you see him potentially playing a bit more, or it just needs must at the moment?
No, I think he can do both roles. I think Philo is a really intelligent footballer, and I feel with Philo that he's been pigeonholed into this kind of right 8 area, and he can't play anywhere else at the club. he's such a technically good footballer. How I see his strengths, he can play as a 10, he can play as 6, no doubt. I think he's had really 2 really good strong performances in the 6 role against Stockport and against Lincoln, and I feel like he can just be more an all-round footballer and not just be this one position because of his technical ability and of his brain. I think it's a shame for him just to play in that one position. He can definitely play both, so he's a really good footballer that can connect the game for us in that 6 role, and it's something that I feel that will be a plus for us, because on the eye, we probably only have Blandy and Luca naturally the 6s. We've got plenty of midfielders past Vim, John Russell, Blandy, Luca, but we probably only have 2 out-and-out 6s in my opinion. And just helping the group and having someone that can fill in that role with such an intelligent footballer like Philo helps him develop and helps the group as well.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you about the games in hand. Obviously, it gets talked about a lot. There's the 3 at the moment. Wickham, I think, for the FA Cup will be another one. So, I mean, does it get to a point where eventually that sort of becomes, obviously at the moment you can catch up, but does it become too many at some point and you could get left behind a bit?
Yeah.
Very busy schedule as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. You're okay with having 1 or 2, but like you just said, Wickham will be called off now, and that will become 4. So that does become a little bit frustrating, no doubt. You look at the league table and we're 10th, but we got 3 games in hand. If we're around 9th or 10th, for example, come Wickham game, and then you've got 4 games in hand, it's a lot. Schedule becomes very, very busy. So I think you can look at it both ways. Would I like to have a couple of them games in hand played? Definitely. But if we pick points up over the Christmas period and you have the amount of games in hand, then you look like, you can really make a real run for the second half of the season. So yeah, it's a frustrating one, because we could have played a couple of them games and be a couple of points outside it rather than being 5 or 6 or whatever it is right now. But it's something that we have to accept and hopefully get a couple of them games in hand in earlier in the season, in terms of January, February, rather than wait until March or April to play them.
Just briefly touching on the second goal on Tuesday, is there anything you can actually do sort of on the training ground? Because obviously those players know how to defend a kickoff. They've done it so many times, but is it more on the head, in the head, I guess, more than, we're going to run that through again in training and sort it out?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's just a moment of madness. It's a moment that the group need to really, really learn from quickly. I think they should have realised that we're really on top in this game, defend this kick-off and get back to dominating the ball and dominating the play like we were. It was just a kind of a crazy moment that we need to learn from, be really calm in that moment and realise that we're on top. And like I said, the second goal ended up being such a kind of a mad moment that it created the third goal then as well. So really, really steep learning curve, and one that we need to get better from for sure.
Quickly, your thoughts on Liverpool? I know it's a few weeks away, but it's a great draw, isn't it? Positive.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant for the club, brilliant for everyone. Really exciting. No doubt we'll have so many Barnsley fans there, one that everyone can look forward to early in the new year. And it's great for everyone. You win these games and you get to the third round and you want to get that big tie. And lucky enough for us, we're one of them teams to get that big tie. So it's a really exciting one.
And lastly, you're obviously back at home for the first time since Luton. That was a fantastic day, 5-0 win. I mean, can you take sort of confidence from that and try to build on it? Yeah,
we're hoping so. It was a big, obviously, performance the last time we were at home. We've obviously had a long string of away games now since then. Some good, some not so good. Been a kind of a mixed bag. So hopefully now we can get back to a good way of playing and a performance that everyone will be really excited for, and hopefully come out on the side of a good result as well.
Thank you, Conor.
Cheers.
Hi, Colin. Yeah. I was going to mention with Liverpool. Do you think it could have some spin-offs in the market potentially? I mean, it's a lucrative tie.
Yeah. Yeah, potentially, Leon. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but obviously from a financial point of view, obviously we all know what the tie will bring. It will obviously help the club for sure in a time where it's great to get it, and it's not easy for clubs at times as well. So look, it's brilliant. It's a really exciting one, and we'll see what happens then in January as well.
I suppose in the nicest possible way, you've got to sort of park it now, and especially if your young players ever seen the title thing, Anfield, this and that. But you basically got to forget about that until 2026, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's loads of games in between that. We've got obviously Leyton Orient on the horizon, then we got Exeter and Mansfield, and we're into a couple of busy games in before the Liverpool game. And as great as it was, to be fair to everyone, we had the draw on Monday night, and I did feel like there'd be loads of talk of it on Tuesday and would it take our eye off the ball. And to be fair to everyone, no one really mentioned it. If I'm honest, there was one or two talks about it in the staff. Players didn't really mention it, and that's the way I wanted it to be. Yeah, look, we know it's on the horizon, but we've got a lot of work to do before then.
You look at it now at this stage of the season, and I think you're probably right to say one or two of the serious sides are starting to get serious. You sort of look at this is the time in the table where the teams start to sort of make the move, isn't it? It gets serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, obviously Cardiff look like they're getting into a strong patch of form. Obviously Bolton are starting, and Stockport have got a good result on Tuesday, and they've got a few lads back from injury. Before, while we played them, they had a lot of injuries. So I expect them to be strong. So yeah, look, we know that it's an important part of the season between now probably and the Liverpool game. Let's say, we'll have 5 or 6 games in that patch, and how many points can we pick up in that period? And obviously, like speaking to Doug, we'll have a lot of games in hand as well. And can we get ourselves into a good position with them games in hand heading into mid-January for the next 2 or 3 months down the line?
Opportunity in Oxford at home as well. I mean, you've got 3 out of the next 4 are at home, and I mean, you've only played 7 home games this season, and we're sort of halfway through December. I mean, if you can really sort of nail down your home form, it'll set you in good stead for next year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we wanted to make a big thing for home wins this season. I think off the top of my head, obviously we've had Reading, Burton Albion, Luton, Huddersfield wins at home, which have been positive. I thought we put in a really good performance against Bolton, and unlucky not to win it. So our home form has been decent. Like you said, we've got a few home ones now, obviously coming up. We had a couple of home results in the league as well. In the cup. York, Man United in the Virtue. So we seem to be performing okay at home. We know obviously it's an important one at the weekend to try and bounce back from Lincoln. And hopefully, there'll be a good atmosphere and a good performance to match it.
Well, managers look at stats and numbers, Stanley. I had a little look at the top of the table yesterday, and it's pretty no coincidence. The side with mainly the best defensive records are right at the top. I mean, just getting a bit of work in that regard. I mean, if you can just improve your numbers in that respect, that'll help you, won't it?
Yeah, I think it's been the one that we've tried to really improve on over the course of the last few months. I always say that our way of playing will create chances, will score goals. But I do feel like there has been an improvement defensively over the last few games, bar Lincoln. Stockport, obviously we defended the box really well against a team who've got 2 big number 9s up the top of the pitch. Obviously had a clean sheet at Peterborough as well. So kind of bar Lincoln in the league, it's been slight improvements, but obviously we still need to get better for sure.
I was going to ask you finally, just on January as well, is it not a case you have to sort of players go out to come in, or you think you might be able to get a couple in?
Yeah, it's going to be a mixed bag. There's going to have to be a couple leave, and there's going to be a couple coming in. And the big thing for us really is come the end of January, can we have a really good squad where you're not flogging lads in the second half of the season in our busy schedule. You're not flogging Reyes, you're not flogging Patrick Kelly and these guys. Because, yeah, look, they're very, very good players. But, ultimately, there's so many games that we're going to have to play and catch up on as well.